Alright, so back with another video here. Very happy because I've been sick this past week and it really put me in like a bad sour mood. But now I'm energized, I'm back, and on the grind. Sadly, I think I spend too much time doing videos and recording things and logging them, and then I lose all the motivation to edit. So then I just have a bunch of stuff piling up on my computer, which isn't good. So the cure for that is just in the moment right now. I think today my challenge is I'm going to work on 4 Xplorers. I'm going to test them all out. They all don't work in some regard or another. Test them all out. I'm going to then fix each of them to just the functional, like just make them functional again. And that's pretty much it. I have 6 Xplorers total to go through, but what we're going to do is just tackle these first 4. The other 2 are something special, and they'll get their own video. You know, that's legit. So we'll do the first 4 right now. And they range from like the fret button not working to the strum bar being out. These are Xplorers, so the fret buttons being out very much does worry me that the motherboard is bad, but hopefully it's just something like a solder joint. You know, I've actually gotten quite a few Xplorers in the past, and a few like wireless third-party guitars, or maybe like the wireless Red Octane White for PS2, that they are sold as is, and they don't power on, and they don't work. And then you pull it apart, and you see that like the part where like the USB or the battery cables are just either ripped or the solder joint broke off, and maybe it was a cold solder joint, and all these years it just doesn't have connection anymore. So I'm hoping that's the case. I've taken 2 of these guitars apart and I've done kind of extensiveness on them, but I've also tried to keep them in their original state for when I do the video on them. More or less just kind of prototyping out a retro cult kit. I guess a retro cult mods kit. So I'm prototyping that out for myself because, as everybody on my channel who's been here long enough knows, I really don't do, it's weird. I make tutorials and I make how-to guides, but I don't ever really ever watch or look up how-to guides myself. I'm weird about it. I like the exploration and like the engineeringness of, hey, I have this thing, it's a challenge, let's make it work. Now, if I need the help and the aid, I'll go to those guides and the videos and stuff, but I generally have this own mentality of like, I like to put something in front of me and without any intervention, just make it work myself. One of my most popular videos actually is when I got my first like mechanical fret board, like the fret board that I got. And I had to figure out how to make it work. You know, I just didn't look up instructions. I didn't buy 3D printed frets or molded fret. I did it all my own way, and I like that, you know. So it is a little weird for me to be like, hey guys, this is how you do this, but also you're learning with me as I do it, you know. But I feel like I get great success with that, and I also evolve it. Generally, my mentality there is I do that on like the first thing. I'll do that on my own guitar, and then I evolve and I do it on other people's guitars, and it gets better and better. The retro cult mod one is a little different because it is for a buddy. Was a business associate, and now someone I consider a buddy. So that's cool. You know, I love earning new friends through Guitar Hero. It's always really cool to meet and see the interesting characters that are out there. Really legit. So yeah, so we'll get through these first 4 guitars and get them all done and just go from there. I think I rambled and maybe misstepped there for a second, but I've been doing this for too long now. My brain hurts, and I frankly just want to get this video done. So yeah, so no, we'll get the guitars down real quick. I'll go sit down by the computer and we'll go through each one. Then we'll come back over here and we will take a crack at it. Okay, so we're here with the guitars. Don't mind the random shit from earlier when I had to deal with that mole that I didn't put stuff back yet. Something about phones, man. Like, the technology of phones is just crazy. So I feel like doing videos with phones is nice, and it's so easy to just... Oh, fuck, there's a mouse in here. Fuck me. It's a mole. Back yet. Oh, and also my flashlight's on, so maybe I should turn that off before I burn my freaking phone up. Okay, so we're here with the guitars. I have the first one that... honestly, they're not really that bad a shape. They're not the greatest of shape, but man, one time I got some guitars. They were 2 Xplorers 2 SGs and like 4 red octane white wireless, and dudes, they were wrapped with duct tape. I don't care if you're a viewer and you did that to me, or if it was a person that I bought it off eBay, because I don't remember. But oh my god, I was so pissed and frustrated. Now, granted, I think that I did buy it maybe because I think I paid like $30. You know what it was? One of the viewers sent me a link to a Goodwill listing online, and I got a giant lot for like $30, and they've wrapped the guitars in duct tape. Like, they literally, like the neck back to back, they wrapped the guitar in duct tape. And it's like, oh, I don't care if I paid a little bit of money or not. Those guitars are like in a graveyard right now that are like the very bottom. They're the malt liquor of all of my guitars. And if I ever had to build a guitar and I didn't have anything left and I had no scraps, I could go in there and I could sit there and like sand down for a whole week and like get all the mush and garbage and gunk off. Oh, I don't want to get into it, but it was bad. It was really bad. So in comparison, these guitars are in like really good shape. I would actually rate them fair. Like this, to me, if I were to have bought this at Goodwill or like a store or something, I would say it's a really good haul. For me, right off the bat, this guitar, for me and like the handful of people that fix these things, because appreciate that Mike did this. Also, man, PSP friggin' sticky notes, that's awesome. I may have mentioned that already, but every time I see it, I'm just like, that's awesome. So, broke whammy, power issues, fret stick. So for me, the broke whammy, easy. The fret stick, somebody must have put like, I don't know. The frets either stick because there's something in the way, or the holes are just, this may sound kind of gross. There's a bunch of dead skin in between the hole and the fret, and that it can't properly come down, and it's kind of going on an angle. Happens a lot. These are really old guitars. And this one looks like it was played. Look at that, though. It's got the cover, which is pretty rare to have, and the back's in pretty good shape. I guess I'll do a once over from front to back. I haven't done anything to these, cleaned them up or nothing, so like, there's a lot of dust, probably from me, but just they're dusty. So they'll get the proper send off. You know what I'll actually do? I will number them. I know a couple of these had numbers on them, but I will try to keep these. I'll do like A. So this will be A1, the other one will be B2, and so on. Just, it's my like way of thinking about it. I'll put it on the back, I guess. And then when I do that, and it stays on there, it won't fall off. When I do that, then I'll know when I'm done with it. Like, I can show you a before and an after. So the big issue here, though, and why it's for someone like myself and the modders, this is a big issue. I already took care of it, like, to get it to test. But somebody crushed the cable, and the shielding inside was touching the red power 5-volt wire, as well as the black, because it was kind of twisted onto itself. So the black is the ground, the red is the hot, and the shield is like another ground, because it on one side it reverts to ground. And so it was shorting out. So any type of movement, it was going to do that. So what I did is I actually I sliced down like a good inch of the cable, and then I pulled the red wire out just by itself, and I just wrapped the exposed part with a little bit of blue tape. It's not perfect, but it's fine for now, just so I can test this. Then later on, it'll get a new cable. What's cool about doing old guitars and doing them for a long time, I actually have a box, or maybe a drawer, full of just XP cables. I don't really know why. Maybe I've replaced them on my own. Oh, you know what? I know why, and it actually brings up a good point for when I do the next video for Mike. I get so many requests to do USB-C mods on these guitars. So much so, I'll probably do a video on it. Maybe for Christmas, I'll buy myself a 3D printer, and then I'll go that route instead of doing it the long-winded way that I do currently. But regardless, I digress. I get a lot of requests for USB-C mods for the Xplorers. So I guess in that regard, when I do that, that cable then goes into a bin, and then I keep it, because I don't throw away parts ever. You can call me a hoarder, I guess. My old man does. But really what it is that when I come up with this and it's like, oh my god, the cable is destroyed and I have to replace it. Well, I got a whole drawer for. So, we'll pull up Xpatter now. I had another software before to test things for 360, but Xpatter is just tried and true. I've got it all there. So we'll go through that. The buttons work. Start, select. It's going to be relative to here. So up, down, left, right. Okay. Up. Strum bar feels very tight. Like, not bad. Like, ooh. When you play long enough, you come to realize a really weird phenomenon that not every guitar is just like not every car, not every pair of shoes. It's the same product, but it's different. And for some reason, a different strum bar combo to a different fret like board, like whether you do silicone or silicon rather. No, silicone. Silicon is the chips. Silicone. Whether you do silicone or mechanical, like whatever you, there's certain guitars that just feel awesome, and this, sadly the frets don't, but this strum bar is a 10 out of 10. It may feel a little gritty, but I wouldn't discount that at all. Maybe a 9 out of 10 if that, but it's really great. Now as for the frets sticking, that's really just going to be a product of cleaning it. Ooh. Did I not do yellow? Or does yellow not work? You didn't do yellow, buddy. Okay. So we have green, red, yellow, blue, and then orange. So I will say that this guitar works. Here's my note for it. You know what? Where's my notepad? So this guitar works. I'm going to put it right here. New cable. And that should be good. That's not too bad. Obviously going to take a little bit for each of these. This has no power, but I will just plug it in real quick to see. I actually did have a theory that this is the problem right here, not internally. So if that's the case, then maybe I can mess around with it. I can manipulate this cable a little bit and get it to work. Yeah, see, so it's not turning on. Ah, see? The cable... This one needs a new cable. It's not the internals. I can tell... Well, sorry, let's do a walkthrough first. So let me do it in order. I don't want to rush through it. So this is going to be... B2. Cool. So B2. That's the one with the Xbox. Here, you know what? I'll even put it on there. I don't want to write on the guitar specifically, but if it has a sticker that I'm going to remove, I guess I could have written it on those ones too. Whatever. So yeah, so we'll do a walkthrough real quick. This one is more dirty and scuffed up than that one. But overall, yeah, see, this one I'll have to do some body work too. It's got some pretty deep gouges in it that I won't be able to show because they're going to blend in pretty well. But there's an overview of the guitar. No, you really can't see too much on the face, but it's especially this corner right here. Oh, you can definitely tell. That corner's pretty gnarly. It looks like it was dropped a bunch. The back's pretty scuffed with a lot of tape and whatnot. So overall, this one I'd give, and the strum bar looks like it was sandpapered down, like somebody's dropped it out of their, you know, like it, here. Is what I'm trying to say. This fell off of a car. And it skidded on just the strum bar for like a block. And then they picked it back up and I was like, oh crap. Not the end of the world. I've got a bunch of strum bars. So cool. This one's definitely more rough. This one will be probably the one that I do a full resto on because I have to do some body work and it'll be cool to show. It'll be cool to show, hey, like if there's a deep gouge on a refurb or really a restore, that'd be a restoration at that point. But if there's a full gouge on a restoration, it'd be cool to show how to do that. So that one's unplugged. I don't want to fry the board or my computer out. Let me go get the other ones. I got, what? I have 3 more to test because one of them I put back together specifically for this. So we are going to do 5, not 4. I don't know why I said 4-pack. This one looks very yellowed. So this gives me an opportunity to try to peroxide a guitar. It'd be cool to test that out. Especially in the winter. I would love to know, because people say the peroxide trick is really just a trick on UV, not heat. And man, the UV seems to be crazy in the winter. Like, it's so super bright on some days. I have to do it on like a weekend where it's maximum brightness, right? Okay, so first I'll read this and let me write down C3. C3. I did not make a list though for B2, so give me 1 second. Strum sticks physically. It says Strum sticks pad, start select, pushed in. Oh, okay. This is an easy one, man. Somebody spilled soda on this guitar. Like, it's as simple as that. There's like a residue, like a sticky, not even sticky because it's been baked into the guitar. But this yellowing, I'm going to assume isn't sun damage because it looks more gray and brown than it does yellow. But I can probably still dye it back with peroxide. But yeah, no, it seems like somebody spilled a soda on this guitar and didn't realize it, and it broke the switches. Like, these switches are physically broken because the strum bar stays where it's at, which just means internally they're sticky, and I'm not going to even attempt to fix that. These I can fix by just cleaning the inside off. There's a bunch of gunk in the whammy bar. I put it needs its own video on here probably when I was first going through these, but to be totally honest, no, this is not that awful a shape, and worst case I can always repaint this, or I can sand it down and get it ready for paint when someone would like it. So that one, okay, I do want to test it though. Okay, we need to just stop myself right here and move on to the next one, because even though my overt positivity is awesome and cool and real legit, it gets us absolutely nowhere when you find out later in the video this guitar really probably did have pop spilled on it, or soda, or whatever you want to call it. And so much so that it eroded away at the circuit board. Like, the corrosion was there for so long, and it was so present and so much that it literally ate away the traces on the board. And then me cleaning it and all that, you'll see. I didn't give up. I didn't look at it and go, it's nothing, you can't fix this. I attempted to fix it, so you'll get to see that, but we're just wasting our breath here waiting for me to get on to the next one. So here we go. The one guitar I took apart, and I'm probably going to bring over here, because as I'm going further into this, and I'm realizing that other guitar that I took apart, the first one, had the orange not work. But you know what? No, I'll keep that for its own thing. And frankly, I guess we'll revert back to just caring about these four. Little beard there. We'll care about just these four. I don't know where the fourth one is, but let me go look. Okay, so I found the fourth guitar. It was sitting right next to me, but just behind all the other ones. So this plugs in. We'll do a quick overview as I make. This is going to be D4. Orange fret is stuck. Strum may also not work. Strum works. No, so this is actually for the first guitar. That is not for this one. So this is not D4. This is going to be... Let me cross off. This is not D4. This one, I believe the sticky pad fell off of it. So let's just see what's wrong with this one. That works. That works. That works. Green, red, yellow, blue, orange. Everything seems to work really well on this. Oh snap! Oh snap! Oh snap! I got one of these guitars with the... Ooh, it'll be fun to take this one apart. This has the phone jack on the side. Ooh, that's awesome. This may actually, because the guitar is in such really good shape, this may actually go to the next video's build, but if that's the case, I'll be sure to work on that other guitar, and then I'll just swap them out, and I'll be transparent about the swap out. But the reason why I say that is that this body is in really, really good shape, but because Mike, the guy who's getting these Xplorers, wants a USB-C conversion on them, why not do it there? Instead of doing it like in here, I can do it right where that is. Now, as long as that... I'm guessing he's righty. I'm sure he would have told me if he's lefty. Yeah, no, we're not going to do that. Specifically, you can't play with the guitar like this. You can only play like that. So I'll have to figure out a good spot, most likely where I always put it. But no, this guitar is in really good shape, and it actually seems to be working just fine. So much so that I'm probably going to throw up Clone Hero for just a sec and see what's going on. Oh! So what's up with that? That is this guitar. I guess it just wasn't sticking. That's weird. It wasn't sticking a little bit ago. Oh, and now the strum bar feels really weird. This guitar just changed as I was holding it. Oh, so strange. It went from being totally fine, which tells me... No. Sorry, I want to close this out. It tells me that this motherboard is probably bad. If that it's at first totally fine, and only once I start playing with it more and I'm using it, and I'm requiring it to input more, like I'm requiring it to process more inputs, it starts acting up more, which tells me something's wrong with it. So I'm gonna actually say this is D4. We'll write it on the sticker here, and we'll say MB check. I'll write it on my paper too. D4 motherboard check. Now, we're at the end of this video. Well, not the end of the video. We're at the end of this part. I guess we can move to tearing them apart, and we'll get to cleaning them up and just, going through the motions, I suppose. All right, here we are with my DVD commentary that everybody loves so much, which is funny because actually people do like it. I don't know why. I guess people just like to hear people talk, and that's cool. So this first guitar, I actually have my notebook right here. I should have been prepared for this. The first guitar was the A1. I replaced the whammy bar. It was pretty busted up. And I also added a new case, and I think that I washed the frets. Like, I actually show me washing the frets, thanks to my kid Joseph for recording that for me. On that note, I don't really ever want to employ my kids or make them do stuff, but they both love doing videos on their own, and they both love helping me with videos. So maybe I will get them to do in short bursts camera work for me, because they would probably really enjoy it, and it would make my videos much better. Like, one suggestion my 10-year-old actually had was to do not so much a trailer, but when the video starts, be like, hey, in this video I do X, Y, and Z, even though I explain it, most of the times, in the beginning I probably say, hey, today I'm going to go over these 4 Explorer guitars. But he's saying, expand on that. Say, hey, today I'm going to be doing this, wacky mod of putting, a fan into a guitar, because I did do that. And then, I love that video, by the way, of putting a fan into a guitar like a bowling alley. But he said something like that. Then show 30 seconds or maybe 20 seconds of different shots throughout the episode or throughout the video. So I'm probably going to do that too. And I also got a suggestion from a coworker of all people, because he asked me, weirdly enough, I have this faceplate on my toolbox that my kids drew on, and so I cut the tabs off and I taped it up. I double-sided stick tape, and it just sits on my toolbox. And so my coworker asked about it, and I was talking to him, and so he found out my channel, and he was watching it with his kid. And he's like, you need a channel trailer, so it's something that, it shows what you do, because he went through all my videos. And he's like, you do, yeah, the Guitar Hero thing, but you do it kind of all over the place. Sometimes you're doing tutorials and you're helping people, and other ones, which he referenced the fan guitar. He's like, you're doing the wackiest stuff ever. He didn't say wacky, because that's my word, but he's Polish, so whatever language, from Polish to English translation in his brain he used. But he mentioned that it's just, it's sometimes silly. I think that's what he said.
So here's me washing it. Thank you again, Joseph, for recording. Honestly, you'd think I would. I put the camera on a tripod. Both my kids get this weird like filmmaking love from me. Maybe because I've been doing it their whole life. But even when I do like Guitar Hero builds, I'm still taking it so seriously. Yeah, I don't take lighting the most serious or like certain camera angles because I just don't have the budget for that to care so much. But when it comes to like holding the camera straight, getting good enough thing, I used to do jackass videos with my cousins, and sorry, I apologize. It is 5:30 in the morning. So yeah, I used to do jackass videos with my cousins, and I would do all the camera work, and I would do all the video editing, and I kind of just like adopted that because they would do the camera work and the editing, and it was just awful, so awful. No offense to them. I mean, okay, no offense to Blake and maybe his little brother. The rest of them, fuck off. They're all horrible people. Um, so yeah, I used to do that, and I just graduated into it, kind of fell into it because we would watch these videos with like they would make little DVDs and stuff. We would watch the videos because this is before YouTube, because I'm old as shit. So before YouTube, back in like 2003, 2004, into 2005 and 6, because they didn't really know about YouTube. I knew about YouTube, and I think actually my first videos of doing jackass stuff on YouTube were from October of 2006. So it shows how old I am and how long I've been doing stupid shit. So yeah, so we did that. They were doing that, and they were showing everybody, and they would like start the camera up. They wouldn't edit anything out. They would cut the camera, so you would hear like the clicking because all digital cameras, especially camcorders, you would press record, and it would go like or some stupid noise, Uh, sorry that I'm talking over this. This is me replacing the cable. It's kind of self-explanatory. Back to my story though. So they would make these noises, but the problem is most all of them would record the second you press the button, and then the first like half a second the audio would kick in, and you would hear that noise. So just like every clip would have this weird like noise thing, and at the end too it would either have a noise or you would hear like the clicking, and the microphone is like half an inch away from all the buttons, so every movement, everything that you do. So I adopted like, hey guys, how about we use a different camera for a microphone? Obviously I thought microphones, but it was cheaper to buy two like $20 cameras or $40 cameras from Aldi of all places, or like Walmart, than it was to buy like a $200 Zoom microphone. So I had the idea that if we took like one camcorder and put it next to somebody and we just left it and didn't touch it, or like on a tripod or something, and then we used another camcorder to film everything, we could get good audio. Then I also like cut out the beginning and the end. I would do not so much color correction, but I would like brighten stuff up. Because if you know old cameras from that era, especially digital cameras, they sucked in lighting. Actually, how about this? The cameras were so old, they didn't use SD cards. They used this big honkin' card. I think SanDisk made it, but it was just this big, huge card. And it might have only been upwards of 500 megabytes total. Like, we could legit record like 10 minutes of the grainiest, nastiest, noisiest footage ever, and then you'd have to go home and dump it onto your computer. Then you can come out and go back. So we wound up, like, every time we would get some money, we would just buy more cards for these cameras. Then thankfully the SD cards came out, but they were fucking expensive. But they held more. So a 1 gig card, you could do double that. So you can get like 2, 3 1 gig cards after a couple months. And we would just spend from basically the start of the school year. I think from like 2003 to like 2006, maybe let's say 2004 at least to 2006. There wasn't a month we weren't recording. We recorded on all of our off days. I would say when we were in school, we actually recorded less. So, like summer vacation, sometimes on the weekends, and all throughout winter break. So we'd have a lot of like winter Christmas stuff. It was a lot of fun, but yeah, so I fell into video editing and movie making and stuff because I cared more about skits and doing like acting and things. I actually have some skits on my old YouTube channel that kind of showcase that. Like everybody was doing a Twix commercial, so I did one of those. But I just didn't like getting hurt. So I always did the like, oh, I'll eat a condiment sundae, and sure, I'll puke in it and eat it some more. It sounds gross, I know, but it's better than breaking my arm when I'm trying to be a reasonable teenager. And like, I had a single dad who was basically like, hey, I'll give you all the freedoms in the world. You can leave this house and just go into the world and do whatever you want. But if you mess up and you get in trouble or you get hurt or you like I say, you do drugs or alcohol or you do something that impairs your ability to be an adult later down in life, I'll fucking cut your head off. And he wasn't kidding. So I took all that shit very seriously. I definitely went right up to that line and I danced on that line all the time. But I never crossed it. You know, I think the only time I ever crossed it was when I got kicked out of school in ninth grade, or really 10th grade. The beginning of 10th grade when I got kicked out. I'm sure he was definitely wanting to cut my head off then. But look at me now, you know, I want to say 16, 17 years later, and I've got a really great career. I've got my kids living with me. Hopefully people can see that I take really good care of them and I care a lot. So shit happens and we move on, you know. But yeah, so I think what I was getting at is just that I've been doing this for so long. And even when I was like 10, 11, I remember I found this camcorder, this like 1987 VHS over the shoulder camcorder with this little black and white viewfinder on it. And I found it in my dad's closet. And he didn't say I could use it, but he also never used it, so I kind of just started using it, and I wouldn't tell him. And then one day he caught me using it, and he's just like, show me what you've been recording. And I would record like G.I. Joe toys or like random stuff with the friends in the backyard. Nothing crazy, nothing wild or bad or inappropriate, just fun little videos. And he kind of saw the utility in me wanting that, and he's like, I'm never going to use this camera. I don't have the time or the energy. He recorded our birthdays and a few Christmases and stuff, but then after a certain point, you're just like, the memories will fade with me, like I get him as he goes. So as long as we have him, and me and my brother aren't the type where we're like we want to see stuff from that era. We're cool with it, you know. I definitely take pictures of my kids, but I try to be sparingly about it, or whatever the word would be. I don't try to overdo it. I definitely don't share on social media and stuff. You know, I'm more guarded. Had to mute that real quick. I'm just more guarded with it, and so yeah, so my dad, he was just like, I'm kind of done with doing all the video stuff. You can have the camera. And that's when it, maybe like 10, 11, 12. It was, weirdly enough, right around 9/11. Because it was the summer before 9/11. Because I remember that Christmas I asked for a camera, and I couldn't get one. And this is the weirdest thing. The pawn shops, the Walmarts, and every other store, I don't know if they were like sold out necessarily, or if they were just more expensive, supply and demand type thing. But both my dad and my mom, not that my mom would ever have come through, but my mom, who tried, at least she claimed, they both were like, yo, we can't get you a camcorder this year for Christmas because of the terrorist attacks. Everybody now is like, they think that here in the middle of Illinois, no, I wouldn't say the middle of Illinois, like outside of Chicago and Illinois, and even then we're like 45 minutes to an hour outside of Chicago. So even though we're all that far, all these people think that they're gonna capture on their home footage the next big thing, and that they're gonna get like a whole bunch of money off of it, because people are weird like that. And like, I'm pretty sure we went to Best Buy, me and my old man, and they were like, yeah, it's like, you know, $1,000 for this camcorder that was maybe normally $300. And my old man's just like, hey buddy, I can't be spending $1,000 on, like, I was probably at that point, I would have been 9. I would have turned 9. And so he's just like, yeah, I just can't do that. But good times, right? Good times. And then a few years later, I got another one that was more like DVI or something to that effect, where it was a disc, but it was a really small disc. And when I hooked it up to my computer, it would just like, it came with some weird software and stuff, and it was cool. Never did FireWire though. But yeah, so because of all that, let's round back to, I think we're on another guitar now. So actually, let's take a break, and we've been on another guitar for a minute here. So D4 says it's the lime. That's my color codes in the editor. And it doesn't say what I did to it, so I'll just have to watch. Oh, you know what? D4 the motherboard was out. That's what happened. So actually, pretty much all I was getting at is that my kids really love videos and stuff, and it's kind of cool because I've been doing it since I was a little kid, and now I'm 32, so that's awesome. But yeah, so I believe, even though I just don't know why I didn't write anything down, I put for each guitar what I, like the color code for it, what I did to it, the original name, because I did them out of order. Excuse me. I did them out of order. It's A1, D4, B2, and C3. Yeah, and for some reason, because B2 says new cable, new switches, and then C3 is C3. Huh. Oh, okay. I guess we'll figure that out when we get there. We are going to watch along together. Just like regular DVD commentary from back in the day. These people would shoot a movie, and they would only be in like 4 scenes of it, and then they would come back 2 years later, and they would sit in a room with all the principal people, and they would watch the movie for the first time. Most likely. A lot of times that would happen. Oh, okay. So, we don't have to go off on weird tangents. What had happened was this fretboard is broken. This is the guitar. So D4 is the guitar that the orange was sticking weird and being all crazy. So you see here that the fretboard, like the circuit board, not the fretboard, the circuit board itself is cracked, which even though the contact traces are still there, underneath it is now a broken point. So that's why you're getting that flickering and that weird all craziness and stuff. And there's probably dust underneath there. And so this long pause, I'm pretty sure, is for dramatic effect, because I could not find a fretboard replacement, another circuit board of that style at all. Out of all like 30 plus Xplorers that I have, like board wise, I don't have that many physical bodies, but of all the boards and the donor parts and everything that I have over the years, I just could not find a replacement for that. There are 2 different types, but it almost appears that this is a different type even to that, because I had 2 different XP boards that were different to themselves in my hands, and they did not match this one here. So I don't know. It is what it is. This board here now, I just ripped that off, and that's not appropriate, but I guess I was upset. And also, I did find out while I was doing this that I need, if I hadn't mentioned already, I need to Xplore motherboards that really do nothing more than just tell the computer or the Xbox, hey, this is a genuine Xbox 360 controller. That's like Microsoft. It's official through Microsoft. It's all I care about. So if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So it's not the end of the world. But I did find, because I have so many Xplorers, I had just a body laying around with no neck on it. Probably was donated to a Flying V, because that's my biggest, conversion, I guess, next to lefty guitars, is doing the Flying V's with official necks. I think I hear someone coming, but that's okay. Yeah, so I literally just took out the guts from one guitar and I put them into another. It's a cop-out, let's be honest, because even though the guitar is fixed, it's more or less that those guts are bad. But because I can use it, I'm still going to call that a solid good. We're good on that one. So yeah, so D4, I actually should write it down. D4 was replaced whole board. I'll just do replaced internals. Oh! Holy shit! Holy shit! The Holy Grail! Oh man. I fucking love every single time I open up a guitar that has the colored wires inside of it. Why there's no power though is so sad. There has to be a reason why there's no power. Oh, it's so clean in this guitar. Holy shit. Oh, I already determined. Oh, I already determined it's in here. Let's fucking go. Okay, So don't mind my freak out there. I had to leave it in. From my understanding, and just because I've been working on guitars as long as I have been working on guitars, these guitars with the colored wires are either made at a completely different factory or they are the original Guitar Hero 2 Xplorers. Now, what I surmise from that is that, and the reason why I say that is, there's Guitar Hero 3 Explorers and there's Guitar Hero 3 PC Explorers. I don't really see that there's any crazy difference besides the colors. There's a placement difference on the whammy on some of them, and there's a placement difference on the jack, like the phone jack on some of them. Now I know I just said there's no differences, but those are just slight differences. That's really all you get. Oh, and I guess I should mention I did and always will. If I suspect a certain diagnosis, I will look into it. So you can see here that the red wire was completely severed and the black wire was cut through, which means that they're shorting. The red wire is for sure shorting out, and the black wire would, I guess it's not really going to short out because it's neutral or like common, but yeah, the red was definitely shorting out. So I just replaced the cable on this, and we're all good. So yeah, so my understanding is, and because it's just been so long and I don't remember very well, but I remember when Guitar Hero 2 for 360 first came out, and I was modding these guitars, like one of the first mods that I would do for friends, because I liked the Explorer and they all hated it. They're like, the guitars were too weird and too small, but they wanted to play on 360. They would just have me take the Explorer guts out and put them into their SGs, and then I would literally, because you're like, well, what about certain the guide button and the guide button left and right. I actually maybe I have some pictures of some mods that I've done, but I would just put like little like cheapy Radio Shack, because that's again how old I am. Go to Radio Shack, spend $5 on a pack of normally open switches, and then just kind of put them in some configuration, drill a hole pattern. There you go. You got a guide and you have a D-pad, you know. And most of the times I wouldn't do up and down. I would do just left and right in a guide, and then I would say, hey, your strum bar is your up and down, you know. So that guitar was an easy fix because of how it was just replacing the cable. But yeah, so again, my understanding is that those are super old and vintage, and they're like the original OGs. I could be wrong. They could just be made at a different factory, but it would make a lot of sense that...
Woo!
Another audio freak out. I said incorrectly actually earlier when I was looking at this guitar. This is C3, by the way. When I was looking at this guitar, it was pretty apparent to me at the time that the strum switches were broken and busted. They're actually not. It's just that how rusted that bar is and how corroded it is, that's the problem. Here, I do have to point out, any, like, where I'm scratching is still a good contact trace, except it's corroded right next to where it's going and it's missing. That's why I'm scratching it. Now here on the back, anywhere where it's dull, there is no pad anymore. That's like the underneath part of the board. I call it the dry. That's the dry part of the board. There's no electronic there. There's nothing. There is maybe one trace left on one of the sides of the back, and there's like 2 traces left on the other side. So what I do, and I learned this from Tronics Fix, even though I don't have the special vinyl wire, I just take stranded wire, like 24 gauge. I twist it up really, really tight. I tin it, make kind of its own wire, and what I do is I just lay it in there, and I kind of just lay some solder down on one side, and then I go to another trace, and so I'm basically taking this from the main contact trace to just any of the contacts that are on the board, because they're not connected. Same on the other side. I do it for both, and then I come in with a file and I make it nice and smooth. I've been doing this kind of stuff for years. I've actually, for the most part, whenever I had, not so much recently, but in the past, if I had an order for an Explorer or an SG that needed mechanical frets, and the dude who just stole all my money didn't ship my shit, I would just drill my own hole. I would line it all up. I would either use the mill or just line it all up with my caliper and score the lines. I would drill all my holes. I would put all my own switches in it. I would solder everything from scratch, and I would run my own wires and own contact traces. I would make my own contact traces pretty much. But because they would get severed or smashed from the plastic behind them, I would do just this with my diamond files. You just sit there, and you don't have to use diamond files, but diamond files are very nice because they're abrasive and they're great. but they're not going to take too much off, and they're also not going to do too much damage. Again, you see me scratching a pad that's just non-existent. But then I'm scratching the contact trace itself, and I'm going to keep on saying it like that. I'm going to keep on scratching that, and I'm just going to lay a little bit. Look at how simple that was. I did splash onto the other one, and now they're connected, and I do have to fix that because I'm going to get these stuck together. But all you need is just this little tiny baby solder joint. And this is kind of cool because, spoiler alert, it does fix the back button. I guess I didn't really have much else to say about that other guitar, just that in my opinion, those are more rare, and they're, in my mind, I would so much prefer to know that my Explorer has colored wires and not. And actually, I bought at one point a in the box. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's sealed, but they claimed unused, and from the looks of it, like the guitar was in plastic. Let's say that, and the guitar was in such a shape where I would believe it if the person used it one whole. If they played like a day's worth and then put it away and never played it again. But I paid like I said before I would never say it, but this was a few years ago now. I paid like $250 for this Guitar Hero 2 360 Explorer. And I never taken it apart, but I know it has the colored wires just because it's like day one OG shit, you know. And it's a collector's item, and it sits in my room, and it just sits in the box. And the only way I would ever give it up is if like I was out of guitars and I absolutely owed somebody something. I wouldn't, hoard that for myself. But for the most part, I just keep that shit locked up. It's funny, the other day somebody was talking about like collecting old video games, consoles, and controllers and shit. And and here's me checking to make sure that not only is my contact trace fix there to the right ones, but there's no crossover and nothing is shorting out. I guess I should have put the beeps in, but oh well. So yeah, they were talking about that, and I was like, hey, I can't complain. I have over 100 Guitar Hero controllers. And somebody else commented like, dude, it's 2024. There's no way you have over 100 Guitar Hero controllers. And thankfully, one of my buddies from high school, who I still talk to on the regular, is friends with this guy, and he's like, yo, bro, like, Nick does this on a like another level. And so I was like, thank you. I mean, shit, that buddy that backed me up, I gave him 2 guitars for free, and it was strictly just because I was like, even if you don't ever play them, like, you don't be obligated to ever have to feel that you have to play this. But I gave it to him because he was one of my friends who, the other one has passed away. I talk about him all the time, Julian. But this one, KJ, his name's Vince. He was there the night that we, like, when I say, I don't want to say it like I'm diminishing his role in this. He was one of 3 people that was there the night that we all were in my clubhouse in my backyard playing Guitar Hero 3 on the release. Like, we walked to GameStop. We were there playing Guitar Hero 2 with all those people. I was playing 6, and I was butchering 6, dude. Like, I think I got like 4 stars on 6, and I had like a whole crowd of like 30 people being like, oh my god, this dude's so good. And in my head, I'm like, I am in the red. I am literally in the red right now. But it was just impressive because for the most part, people weren't playing on expert, so even a person failing on expert was still impressive to them. It's like, I guess if you're watching someone play like Devil May Cry and they're just getting their ass kicked, but they're still like winning, like through like the final boss or something, you're just like, well, this guy's really good, So yeah, so we did that. We played the game. We beat it before sunrise. Like, so he was pivotal in that, and me and him, dude, we fucking played that same morning after that was all said. No, we beat Jessica on Guitar Hero 2, both playing expert co-op, while we were like we were literally dozing off the whole song, and then we woke up and the stat screen was just there. So I was like, we must have like autopiloted through this song while we were half asleep, While I'm replacing these strum switches, I do gotta say, please expect a video, and I'm saying this more so I can get it done, and I'm even gonna write it down. Make new strum switch video. The reason why I say that is I watched my old one because I got a few comments recently that people are still using it, and they're, thank you guys that you're still using an old, out of date tutorial. It's not that it's out of date. It can be used forever because it's just simple. But and here I'm not sure why I'm checking that again, but that's just in there, so I'm double checking it. Here's me cleaning everything. Oh, so with the Strum Switch video, I guess I'm just stalling. I really don't like the state of mind I was in when I made that video, and it's really old, and it was from my old apartment, and I want to. It's got so many views, right? It's got all the views that I could ever ask for, and I appreciate that. But I would love to, more than anything, to just make a brand new, really just coherent, speaking clearly, and just straight to the point video on how to do that. And I think for next year, I want to do that for quite a few videos. Instead of these hour-long, 2-hour-long videos, which I love doing, and I'm not going to stop doing. That's just how I roll. I do want to incorporate like 5 to 10, maybe 20-minute just, hey, here's a quick tutorial. You just rip something out. Put something back in. Like that one video I did where I did like an hour-long, speed run build. That one's cool because it shows you how to do a build, and I do kind of show tutorial-wise, So I think that's it. Okay, so we were going to test this one first, the last one that we just worked on, and there's nothing to test. The guitar just doesn't work. I didn't suspect that it was going to happen, but the guitar does not work. So it plugs in just fine. This comes on. The computer registers everything. The strums work. The select back works. Start does not work. And only yellow works. None of the other frets work. So I'm going to just say that with all the corrosion and all the nonsense with this motherboard, it's kaput. It's done. It's just bad. So it is what it is. With that being said, I'm not really upset about it. That's not a problem really at all for 2 reasons. One, all these guitars were a bundle of 6 that were really to be Frankensteined into 2 guitars, and then I keep the other 4. So no big deal there. But also, in all of the work for my next video, like the prep work for my next video, I discovered I need 2 motherboards that are official Microsoft that do nothing besides just plug into a controller. That's all that they do. They plug in to authenticate that they're real controllers, and that's all I need. So this controller, this guitar, when I plug it in, it says it's Xbox 360. I'm pretty sure it says Xbox 360 or X360 Explorer, whatever it says. I always notice because whenever I plug in a new one, it overrides my audio and it puts it onto this, so I have to go and change it. So I just need 2 motherboards that don't do anything besides just sit in the guitar and just exist. So it's perfectly fine if they don't function. I mean, yeah, like I said, the strum and all that, but it's okay. I only need the motherboard. So I'm going to do the same with the other one. The other one, I'm just going to chop everything off of it, and I'm just going to kind of put it somewhere, probably wrap it in tape or maybe solder mask. It's a little more professional. Probably just cover it in solder mask and then put that board in there and secure it. This guitar, overall, nah, it's whatever. I get to keep the motherboard. We get some frets out of it. I'll sand those down, polish them up, make them nice. This here is in really good shape. I'm surprised the guide button is in really good shape. And I do suspect, before I go on this guitar, I do suspect maybe the start doesn't work because I used a different pad on the back, which totally very well could be. But at this point, because only the yellow works, I really just don't care. So moving on. This I'll probably do 1 song per guitar if they work and testing. So I guess we'll put a tally up right now. 0 out of 4 work. But I'm also gonna, maybe let's do a half. We'll do 0.5 out of 4 because it's not a total loss. Also, I didn't finish soldering those switches, did I? They're good enough, but I need to go back in there and really lay down a good amount of solder on that.
right as my brain says, hey, you never warmed up. It's 9 in the morning and I just started because I wanted to get this done before I leave for the weekend. Also, I'm really used to mechanical frets, so sometimes this will just really wear my fingers out. And my nose is itchy. Ah. It's like I really care. My fingers hurt. Not bad for 97. I'll pick the next song, and then I'll say that's a 11 out of 10 because it has the rare gem internals inside of it. So call me bold, but if this one doesn't go totally awfully wrong, I'm just gonna call it an even win right now. Ooh, these buttons are much more worn out. I like that. Alright, so I've been interrupted a couple times now, but we are moving on to D4, which means I have tested this guitar technically in the last 15 minutes or so. It's just, I've been interrupted each time I try to play a song between phone calls, and one of my kids came in here to talk to me, which, no big deal. That's life, you know, I'm a freaking adult that has kids and responsibilities, so that stuff all takes precedent. I just want to be transparent and go that I've tested this guitar a little bit. I don't want to be like, oh my god, it works really well. You know, I already know that it works. But for the sake of the video, I would still like to get a song done for this guitar. So, with that said, because this guitar performs so well, I'm just going to call it a straight even across the board. That first guitar, the body's really good and the motherboard is still usable, even though the guitar doesn't actually function. I'm going to call that just a good, solid, it's a win enough. Then the second one is a win, like a win plus or a win double, like a double win, so that also equals to that. And then because this guitar is just broken in, these pads are friggin' sick. And the strum bar, if I did or did not replace it, is also sick. So because of that, those things, I'm just saying for right now, we're 3 of 3. We're just 3 for 3. I don't care if that upsets anybody because I'm breaking my own rules, but... Wow. Yeah, no, we're not doing that. Sorry, but my arm can't handle that. So alternatively, we're doing this. I've gotten this pretty much every time I've ever tried, so I don't jinx it, at least. Oh no. Ah, oh, fuck me. I jinxed it. I hit all the hard stuff, and then I missed that little bit of that easy. It's like a half trill, I guess. -3 or 4. Oh, but that's a total win. This guitar is sick, too. So now we have 3, let's say 2 working, but 3 solid guitars. I missed 3 notes. Yeah, cool. Alright. Alright, last but hopefully not least, here is this guitar. This one is obviously one of the ones I worked on. I don't know what number it is, though, because I don't have it written on it, and it must have fallen off, so no big deal there, but we'll test it out here. I can tell you it works because I was going through the menus looking for songs and stuff, and we're going to be playing our last song here, and I'm probably just going to fade it out at the end with no real outro there because we've said all that we want to say. All the guitars are usable. 3 of them work, so I'm happy about that. We'll give that just a full win. I'm not going to go to the extent and say that they all work, though, because even though one is utilized... How about this? Because these 4 are a part of 6, in part 2, even though it's its own video, in part 2 to this, what we'll do is we'll round back, and if those 2 other motherboards are perfectly fine, and I can use this guitar again, and because those are getting microcontrollered, if I can then use this body and all 4 of these guitars are working in the end... Okay, how about this? If all 6 guitars work in the end, it's a total win. Regardless of how I Frankenstein whatever together through any other parts or nothing, if all 6 guitars plug in and work as they should and intended, at the end, we're totally good. All right? That's what we're doing. So with that said, even though I'm going to have hopefully 2, maybe 3 more videos out before
the holiday, before Christmas. I'll say it now. Happy holidays, everybody. Really appreciate everyone sticking around and hanging out with me while I do all this, antic type stuff. But we're back. We're back and we're consistent. These buttons are very stiff though, so that's a factor. I didn't exactly pick an easy song for that, but yeah, the buttons are very, very stiff. Not like stuck, but just that pad is tight. Remember what was it like? Oh, this hurts. I'll be happy when the song is over. This guitar is not a win. It works though, so that's the important part. But in order to sell this or to use it for myself, I would have to replace the pad or most likely just mechanical switch it out. Which is usually always the option for something like that. As long as everything works, all the inputs, and nothing's wrong with it, then just replace it. Like the switches, that is. Or, you know what I mean. Replace the pad with switches. Minus 14. I think I have a video on my channel where I have a -1. So that's cool. Cool.